Hi there, my name's Cordy, and all I want for Christmas is just for you to show me that I matter. So if you could just, leave a comment saying you can't wait for Cordy to come back to the channel. At the moment, I'm in a bit of a spot of bother, and I've had to outsource a lot of the content creation on this channel. That's the reason that you're seeing stuff from this angle. I've had to overdub stuff, and the playing, that's been done by someone else as well. But, hopefully if we leave enough comments and well wishing, and maybe if you like and subscribe, I'll be able to come back to the channel at some point. It's pretty cool, isn't it, that? Anyway, I thought since it's come to the end of the year, this was sort of my big discovery last year, towards this sort of time last year. Kind of the reason that I started ramping things up on the channel in any case. So I thought maybe we should talk about, is it still worth buying one of these? Should you buy an Iridium going into 2021? So first of all, I think the main reason for grabbing one of these is if you've got lots of these. And what I mean by that is if you've got a load of other pedals and stuff like that, and you've been used to using a real amp for a while or something like that, and suddenly you had to go direct, or maybe you wanted like a fly rig or whatever. Maybe someone at church had changed the way that you want to do things. Maybe you want to live stream some stuff. I guess at the moment we're not really thinking too much about gigs. That for me is where the Iridium kind of came in. I think changed a few people's minds about modelling in general, mostly because of the simplicity of the thing, and that it generally sounds pretty good, I think. And I think that's the same is still true. You've got three kind of really usable models: the Defender Deluxe Reverb, the Vox AC30, and a Marshall Plexi, sort of three pillars of the classic guitar tones. And then that's kind of your pedal platform, and you're probably going to know this by now, that the idea is you plug stuff into the Iridium, like your drives ahead of it. You can put your delays and reverbs after it if you want. That's how I generally do things. And then you can go direct to board, direct to your sound card, or maybe you could plug into a full range flat response monitor or a power cab or something like that. That's something I need to experiment with. But basically it's taking the amp out of the equation in a way. So in 2019 there weren't necessarily loads of other simple options in this kind of range. But since the Iridium, there are a couple of different bits and pieces that have come out that I think maybe might make people kind of consider other things. So for instance, the Vox brought out these pedals, the Mystic Edge, which is their Vox model. So if you were the kind of person that's only really using the Vox AC30 on here, and you wanted something cheaper to do the same kind of job, but with kind of less bells and whistles in a way, it's only got one selectable cab sim, but kind of, if simplicity is what you're after, then maybe that's even simpler than an Iridium. Doesn't do the stereo thing as well, so that's worth bearing in mind. But something that came out, around the same time, but has actually started hitting people, not literally physically assaulting them. Anyway, it's something that you can get your hands on now if you wanted to try it. Apparently it's got a nano tube in it. Whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know. But I did quite enjoy these whilst I was playing with them. And then the other thing is stuff like the Torpedo Captor X. So if you've already got your amp or your amp head, this is a load box and a cab loader. Two Notes have a bunch of different IRs that you could use. So they've got some Mesa Boogie ones specifically, which I use for the Lone Star and the California Tweed and all of my Mesa amps. But that is, again, if you were kind of wanting to go direct to board or to sound card without worrying about too much tweaking, the Captor X is another kind of thing that has come along this year that you might also consider. I think at this point, and I think it's probably fairly established across Strymon's history, that, and I think I've been told this in the comments, they generally don't update the core functionality of a pedal once it's come out. So it's very much plausible that you're never going to get extra amp models on this, and there's a debate as to whether some people might want that or not. I think maybe the option might be cool, but whether it be implementable, I'm not really sure. For instance, you could have a Fender Twin underneath the round thing. You could have different Fender style amps, and maybe in the chime you could have like higher gain Vox type amps like a Trainwreck, and maybe higher gain Marshall amps. It's like potentially you could load that in as you load in different cab options. I think the chances are that's probably never going to happen, but I think it was something that some people had in mind when the Iridium first came out. They thought, oh, is this kind of the route that Strymon are going to go down? Maybe there was a multi-effects type helix type unit coming, but I think at this point it doesn't really look like that's necessarily going to be the case ever. So those are kind of my thoughts. If you wanted really simple, there's kind of these Vox pedals which you probably haven't seen much hype about, but I think they're pretty good. And then the other thing is the Captor X, which you probably would have heard of if you've already got an amp that you really like but you're wanting to move it direct, potentially go silent, record silently with it. The Captor X obviously can do the load box thing, which the Iridium can't. It costs about the same as the Iridium. The Vox stuff is cheaper, but in terms of doing that thing, sitting at the end of a pedal board or in a pedal board and delivering direct to front of house and having a simple interface, I still think it kind of has a role. Let me know in the comments, are you still using your Iridium or did you move yours on? I don't see loads and loads and loads about it on YouTube or anything like that anymore, but I still think it's got its place, and I think it was definitely a strong toe in the water from Strymon, and I'd be interested to know if we're going to ever see more of this kind of thing. Certainly if you look at like Origin Effects with their Revival drive, they did like a hot rod edition, and I feel like there'd be a market for that if Strymon chose to do that. You know, like a hot rod Iridium where they have higher gain models and stuff like that. Potentially if they wanted to do that as like a money spinner, I think they could. But it'll be interesting to see. Also let me know in the comments if there was specific kind of pedal pairings that you found worked really well with the Iridium. Still for me, I think the TS10, the Dude, the J-Rocket Dude, the Origin Effects Revival drive, those kind of pedals I really enjoyed through the Iridium. I find it takes all of my drive pedals pretty well. So yeah, I think that's kind of my thoughts on it. Should you buy an Iridium? Well, if you wanted to potentially run a real amp into it, there are other options out there like the Captor X that do a similar kind of thing almost, you know, so it's a cab loader and a load box. If simplicity, real simplicity, and maybe if you're only using like a Vox model on it, potentially you might want to check out the Vox Valve Energy series, a bit cheaper, and you probably might even be able to pick up one of those for a bit of a bargain, because I'm not sure that they sold like hotcakes. If you're looking for kind of the three models that this does, it does have a headphone output, which I don't particularly use, but I know there are some people who do, and I think it does sound pretty good. It can load lots of other IRs if you want to, so 3 per model. Be interesting to see if we ever get anything else like this from Strymon. Hopefully this was vaguely interesting. I wanted to say thank you for all of those people from the Strymon Iridium world who did subscribe to the channel and stuff. And yeah, so at the start of this video I was using the Vox Chime model with these settings, and on cab C I think it was. And then this pan delay is after it to kind of chuck things in a ping pong fashion to the left and right, but with a really slow, I had it a really quick delay time. And then also for the solo tones you were hearing the Dude and an HRM stacked into that, and for the rhythm tone you were just hearing the Dude into that. So those are kind of the tones that I'm getting with the Iridium when I was playing with it today. Thank you for stopping by, and if you want to like and subscribe, that would be really helpful. Cheers.